Have you ever thought about using trading bots? I used Bitsgap in the last bull market and turned $1,000 into $50,000 within a 5-month period. I documented the whole process and put it in a playlist if you want to see that, along with other training videos and tutorials how to set bots up and make the most of the volatility of the crypto market. If you sign up with a link in the description, you'll get a 7 days free trial with no obligation to continue, and you can also use a demo account within Bitsgap so you don't have to risk your own capital. Bitsgap. Hello everybody, let's talk about the short term and the long term of what's going on with altcoins at the moment, because obviously everybody's going altcoin mad, blah. So yeah, that's right, it is time, it is finally time that altcoins are moving up. However, as we keep saying on this channel, best time to buy them is when no one wants them. Guess what? Everybody wants them. Everybody wants them. I've even noticed on my Telegram channel now that the scammer bots are back, so everything's ripe for well, should we call it a little bit of mania? Now that doesn't mean that it's going to stop, but what it does mean is that it's getting pretty hot. And if there's one thing that we've took away from the last few, well, I suppose the last 4-5 months now, because obviously we've been going up for over a month now, is that prior to this, the altcoin market's been pretty illiquid. So by that, what I mean is the volume has been very low, which means that the volume is very high right now, ripe for the picking, basically. It's harvest time for many of us, which is why I've been always reiterating, at least over the last 2 weeks now, enjoy the pumps, take profit on the pumps, but that doesn't mean that hodl bags are a bad idea, right? And this is what this video is going to be about. So we're going to look at the short term first of all, which again, I'm here to ruin the day, here to ruin the party. This is our first look. So we're going to have a look at Bitcoin to begin with, because it's so boring. We're going to look at Bitcoin. I know. You're all tuning in to hear the next big mega pump. But look, Bitcoin obviously hit the major resistance last week. It's hit it again yesterday and again today. This basically just this $38,000 zone is a bit of a problem for Bitcoin. If we can extend that, if we can break through that, there is another target above us, just around the lower 40s, between 42 and 43. I would probably mark it off around this peak over here, although it's not perfect, but it's roughly around this $42,000 zone. Obviously wicks can go higher, so that would be the next area of resistance. But until then, the major one is where we're sitting at right now. We had these supports over here, and that's basically it. We've highlighted it for a while now. So that's Bitcoin. It's pulling back on that now. Now, it probably is still a dip buyer's market for altcoins, but let's recognize this for what it is. This is major resistance. It's not just Bitcoin that's finding its resistance. There's other coins out here that are also finding their resistance. Another one that we like on this channel is Atom, respecting this area. Again, it makes more sense on the 4 hour. You can see that it has been relatively neat. Again, I'm not saying that Atom is the the pinnacle of the market. I'm just saying it's just giving some examples of coins that I follow, charts that I follow, and so yeah, once again rejected more or less on the the 10-20 area. So it's not just Bitcoin, it's lots of other altcoins. Ethereum has not yet made another leg up. It looks like it wants to consolidate, and this is fine for continuation. So this is not a bad thing. It's low, high, lower high, blah blah blah. All of the same. And look, the best thing we could look for after a consolidation is a continuation, and we probably get it. All right, we do probably get that. But in the very short term, as in today. Unless, of course, we start to see continuation of the pump immediately, we do need Bitcoin to help us with that. We don't want Bitcoin to keep going down; it's going to drag everybody else down. Then, yeah, we should see continuation across the board. Ethereum is probably the better indicator as to where to buy dips from. And if we get dips at any one of these moving averages, this would be powerful dip buying time. So we've got golden cross on exponentials, not quite yet on simples. So supports that so far exist at 1923, 1825, 1780, and the final one would be 1747. Again, these are all trending up, so it's actually good. It's a good look for it. But look, that does mean that pullbacks are quite not unlikely to the tune. So far, if it was to happen immediately, it would be like 14%. Well, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but it could. And this is what I mean with an illiquid market. So many of these altcoins, doesn't feel like it now because we've been pumping for so long. Everybody's like, forgets so quickly about the nature of altcoins, which is deadly, right? Absolutely deadly. Imagine how deadly it was when the market was fully liquid, right? So there was tons and tons and tons of volume in the market back in May 2021. That's when the first initial crash happened. This is when there was so much volume in this market here, and kapow, straight away down 50, 60%. Bottoming out at around 60% before going back up. All of this, all of these downside targets that we measure out are not here to scare you. It's just to put it into perspective. The reason we all love crypto is because it goes up fast. But we also should be more than aware that it goes down just as fast, if not faster. So we just got to be completely aware of that. And I'm not here to scare you out of positions. That's not my intention. I'm just trying to just put it out there. I'm sure everybody on YouTube, everybody on Twitter is a massive moon boy right now. But and that's fine, because I am going to show you the long term, which is pretty good. And look, there's a lot to be said for hodling. So I've been saying probably for the most part of this year, every significant pullback on altcoins that you feel has got some value to it, that you expect to see new all-time highs or at least significant uptrends on, buy, hold, stake. This is why I've been promoting things like Swiss Borg. I was quite comfortable doing that because you can, it's just effectively a hodler's place. You buy it, you hold it, you stake it. You stake it wherever you want. But that is a great strategy, one that I love. I do it, and some of my biggest wins in the last bull market, like Matic, for instance, and the bull market prior to that being XRP, have been hodl bags, and it dwarfs all the trading that you do on a day-to-day. So I'm just putting it out there. I'm not here to scare you out of position. I'm going to show you the long term as well, but the short term does look like a bit of a pullback is required anyway. Whether it actually happens is a different story, but it is required. And so if you're looking to trade or enter new positions, just recognize where it is that you're buying it from, and work out the risk to reward. It's something that we are trying to drill into everybody in the Patreon, boring them all to death with it. If you're entering into any trade on anything, you've got to make sure that the risk is way smaller. Way smaller than the reward. The reward's got to be big, and the risk has got to be small. That's when you enter a trade. It's not a FOMO, it's the opposite of FOMO. FOMO is when the risk starts to outweigh the reward. Doesn't mean that it always plays out that way. It's just, as a trader, that is one of the main things you've got to always think about. Risk to reward, risk to reward. And obviously we've been going up now for 5 or 6 weeks, to the disgust of the trolls 5 or 6 weeks ago when I was talking about a potential alt season. Now the risk probably outweighs the reward in the short term. Long term, though, let's have a look at Ethereum. Ethereum has actually finally started to cross up above the 0 point in this MACD after a long period of what would appear to be accumulation. The accumulation beginning from this area around here. So accumulation, basically still actually been in an uptrend really since the weekly hit this $900 zone. And now we're obviously doubled our money on that one. If you'd have bought the absolute low, I didn't. I bought Ethereum back at 160 and I still keep it, stake it. Yeah, it's a long term. It's a what do you call it? A store of value, much to the disgust of traditional media. So that I'm not thinking about buying any Ethereum at this. Obviously, I bought mine at 160. But yeah, as far as the long term trend is concerned, she's probably only just getting started. 200 simple and exponential have effectively maintained an uptrend, which makes it seem more reasonable that any one of these dips will get bought, and the low is almost certainly set at this point. And if we do find another low, or if we come down to retest another low, I don't think Ethereum will be seeing any lower than 1600. A nice round number for me there, because that's a perfect 10x. So look, that is Ethereum long term, and if we view this chart realistically, we would be looking for this to trend up into 2025 to make at least its previous all-time high, and maybe a bit higher than that. Not going to get too crazy about where it's actually going to go. There's no point. Some other coins that I like to follow with good risk to reward. Again, Algo has been pumping now. It's up a fair bit really. From this significant low. So it's got to be a good 40% now, I'd imagine. 60% actually, if you measure it there. So yeah, about 60% up, and is looking very good. The risk to reward on this one is actually pretty sweet, because we can see that the MACD has also been in a massive accumulation zone. We also had some bullish divergence on the weekly as well, with the first major weekly target of basically just short of about 50 cents. We're talking 49.16. So that is pretty decent risk to reward just based on a weekly target. Now, if it does break that, then obviously we see much bigger, much higher moves than that into the 70s, and after that over $1.60. Decent risk to reward. I'm going to show you this. Please refrain from vomiting all over the place. But yeah, something like EOS is actually in a good position. Major supports sitting down here around the 65 cent zone, with top targets back into the $2.50. Now I know that is not reclaiming any kind of major significant victory for EOS, but risk to reward, and over the long term this one's got plenty of room to move. Even on the daily, we were talking about this on the short term. Still being in a falling wedge pattern, and look, if you want to buy the top of a falling wedge, recognize you're buying a resistance, a major resistance that could push us all the way back down to the bottom, which is down below 40, absolutely. But as far as this one looks, it's more likely to break out, and if we do have continuation over the coming weeks, really, we might start to see EOS blast up to 90, then to 25. Anyway, I made a video about that previously. Atom as well, effectively what I'm seeing is a similar move to a chain link move, which is basically accumulating within 100% range. We're at the top of that range now. If you do break this range, you make big strides up. Big strides up all the way to the top of this descending triangle, which effectively did break out, and that would be the top target around $15 in the short term. And then obviously, over the next year or so, this accumulation will be dwarfed, similar to what this was like back in the olden days, when you go on to make a new local high, new all-time high, targeting areas like $50 or whatever. XRP is a bit of a mess at the moment because of that silly thing that happened. Messed up the order books. The liquidity is all a bit crazy now. So we had that big move up, big move back down, a huge volatile move. But effectively, if we look at the candle bodies, we still see a consolidation taking place with a view to be supported around the 62 to 63 cent zone. And again, I'm super bullish on XRP on the long term, and that being the short term. The long term is going to be pretty great, because we've turned up above the 0 point, made a positive cross. This is still absolutely on track for fulfilling its market cycle, and I think this market cycle will be the greater one, much greater than the last one. The last one was a carbon copy of the one prior to that. The only problem is it didn't make a new all-time high, most likely to do with the SEC, not so much a failure of its own doing, but the problem being the SEC is stopping it from being traded on major platforms, and so that was a problem for it. But now that's out the window, we could see this one outperforming a lot of its other top caps, really, because this is a top cap coin, and I would see this one going on to make a new all-time high. This market cycle has broken out early, which gives it way more likelihood that it will make a new all-time high. I wouldn't have expected XRP to have broken this bullish this quickly, but it did. Its consolidation took a lot less time than it has done in the past. So what we'd be looking for this time round would be a new all-time high. So we're talking, over 340, probably into the $5 zones. And again, I'm not here to make out targets. So anyway, all I'm saying is that short-term time frames suggest that, we're pushing a resistance of $38,000 on Bitcoin. But the midterm to the long term, absolutely no problem in expecting much higher for for longer. So I just wanted to put it out to you there. One last thing we'll look at is the total market cap again, which is roaring. This is the total market cap 2 excluding Bitcoin, and what we see is we are kind of struggling around this rough area. So we'll put a line of resistance in there. So we had supports which broke down, we had a resistance which broke down, we had a retest of the resistance which broke down, and now we're back up at this level again. And this is where things take another turn, if we do break out from this level, we could target an enormous move on the market cap here, and this would be the overall sort of vibe across the board. So we're talking maybe Ethereum moving up to the tune of around 37%, and all the other smaller cap coins should trend with that, and they will like double in price from where they are right now. if we break the resistance. I get DMs all the time about, oh, do you think that this can do this, and do you think this could break this? And I said, well, look, I'm primarily a trader, right? And so I sell at resistances. That's what I do. I lock in the profits at resistance. I might not lock it all in, but I certainly lock in some. And you can't expect a resistance to break. You should expect a resistance to be a rejection point. That's what you should expect. If it breaks, then great. It goes on. It goes onwards and upwards. And look, resistance for the most part, resistances do break most of the time on healthy looking charts. So it will break at one point. I'm pretty confident that it will. Is it going to break this time? That's the thing that we've got to ask ourselves. Is this resistance going to break? Because if it does, then we'll see ourselves a move up close to 40% across the board. And obviously some altcoins will be going up a lot more than that. And then it's at that point then you see the next resistance. And I'll be getting the same DMs at that point then when we approach the next resistance. Do you think it is going to break? And I would say, look, it's a resistance. We should expect it to reject. Let's be careful, because if it does reject, it'll be pretty nasty. Altcoins giveth, they also taketh away. So, you know, this is the nature of trading. This is the deal. This is what's presented to us right now. Look, I'm optimistic that it will break, and I'm optimistic that it's going to go up. There's a lot to be said for sentiment, to be honest with you. This is why I always refer to somebody as, you know, the magical Captain Noob Master. Captain Noob Master is not somebody that's just turned up at crypto and doesn't know what he's doing. Captain Noob Master is somebody that refuses and is incapable and will never learn. And they chase the green candles, and by doing that, they actually push those candles up higher and higher, way beyond where they need to go, and that causes, like, I suppose, a bubble and a pop in the market. Now, we're not going to see a massive big pop in the market and go into a new bear market that lasts a year to 18 months. That's not what I'm saying. But, you know, in standard altcoin fashion, we do get an alt season most of the time once a year, and when we get those alt seasons, most of the time they pop and everything comes right back down again, which is why the Bitcoin dominance chart is often a great indicator of how to play the market overall, if you want to stay in the market by rotating altcoins into Bitcoin. And at the moment, the Bitcoin dominance chart does appear like it wants to break down. We're holding on to the last level of support. Now, if you were bullish on this chart, you would be thinking, all right, this is the place to rotate. This is a 50 exponential moving average after a golden cross, which has had some relatively decent supports given to us on this. So we've dipped down a little lower than the past, that's fine. But this is a major support that you ought to think about. I'm not saying that this is where you want to rotate from. I'm not saying that, but if you were to rotate from here, I could completely understand why you were moving from altcoins back into Bitcoin. I can completely understand that. If it does break down, however, it's a swift move back down to roughly around 50% dominance. And if we break the 50% dominance, and again, this is where the DMs come in. Do you think we will do this? Do you think we will do this? You should always expect a support to support you and a resistance to reject you. So if we're talking ifs, if we see a breakdown from here, we do come down 2% on the dominance chart, which again would be complementary to the total market cap 2 breaking the resistance. And if we broke this one, oh baby, you know, we'll be coming down to the 48, and if you break 48, then blah 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 blah. You see what I'm talking about? It's all about ifs. There's no crystal ball here. There is no crystal ball here. It's just about statistical likelihood of a move. And statistically, I would expect to see a bounce around here, which might be in the form of altcoins losing their sats again in the short term. But I would also expect to see a rejection around here. So it's not all that bad. So the long and the short of it still looks good for anyone who's holding altcoins, especially if they bought them like 2, 3, 4 months ago. It still looks good, because what people are getting into right now is just it's kind of FOMO, it's kind of mania, it's kind of crazy. And from a trader's perspective, I'm locking in lots of profit. But from a hodler's perspective, and again, I've got a lot that I'm hodling, you know, I'm just happy to see it move up. But I'm absolutely under no illusion that it's going to come back down again, which is why hodling is not for the faint of heart. And staking those, staking where possible on the coins that you hold, is absolutely a great strategy, because your target isn't this to here and then back up to here, and that's not your target. Your target is when this one finally gets a big rejection and a very large alt season and a breakdown of this uptrend, and we see ourselves trending back down to the lower 40s and maybe even lower than that, because despite what the SEC and other people will tell you, I'm pretty sure that this bull market will be a largely altcoin driven market. It's just not ripe for that right now. I'd be amazed to see the Bitcoin dominance break down below 48% at this point. I'd actually be kind of surprised to see it break down below 50, but it could. And again, could is the operative word. For hodlers, it's all just part of the game. From a trader's perspective, caution here, caution here, caution here, rotate, rotate, rotate. It's a 24-hour market. You don't need to get too clever on something like this. There's opportunities every single day. Right, so let's just sit back, watch and wait. If you're in altcoins, depending on the one you're in, good luck to you. I'm certainly hodling the hell out of many altcoins right now, so I'm on your side. As for new entry points on altcoins right this very moment in time, not really feeling it, to be honest with you. Not really feeling it. The bounce was significant, but remember how that bounce happened. It happened in the form of a super dump. Well, not a super dump, but Bitcoin came down a little bit. Altcoins came down quite a lot, and surprisingly, the Bitcoin dominance chart actually continued to go down. So it still feels like a dip buying market, but that does mean you have to buy, or you'll be looking to buy the dip. You don't buy the resistance. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Quite a long video. Hopefully that wasn't too draining for you. And again, I'm very happy to make altcoin videos for any of you that want to present me with a chart that looks good. Otherwise, join the Patreon, even if it were to just support the channel. But if you did want to join it, you would get 2 live streams a week on Tuesdays and Fridays. But, you could just join it anyway, just to show your appreciation to the channel. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you have a nice day. Take it easy.